I think back to when I was 16, and if I'm being honest, I wasn't the person I wanted to be. I wasn't the person I needed either. At 16, I was lost. Not in a way that everyone knew, not in a way I could say out loud, but in my heart, I knew I was struggling. I don't think I realized how deeply insecure I was at that age. I spent so much time comparing myself to everyone else, wishing I was someone else, someone more confident, someone who fit in better. I wanted to be more outgoing, more beautiful, more perfect. But most of all, I just wanted to be enough. At 16, I didn't know how to cope with the world around me. I didn't know how to deal with the pressure from school, from friends, from family, the pressure to be successful, the pressure to look a certain way, to be popular, to meet expectations. I was drowning in it, but I had no idea how to get out. I would often go home and just shut myself off from everything, hiding away from the world and from my own thoughts. I wish someone had told me back then that it was okay not to have everything figured out, that it was okay to feel lost sometimes, that not everything needed to be perfect. But instead, I thought I had to have it all together, just like everyone else seemed to. And when I didn't, I hated myself for it. When I think about the girl I was at 16, I realize I needed someone who could have guided me through those tough moments, someone who could have told me that it was okay to be messy, to be vulnerable, to not always have the answers. But no one really showed me how to be that person for myself. I didn't know how to be kind to myself. I didn't know how to love myself. But now, as I look back, I realize something incredible. I became the girl I needed at 16. It took time, a lot of time, but I eventually learned how to be kind to myself. I learned how to embrace the parts of me that felt broken and unworthy. I became the version of myself I needed back then, not because I wanted to be perfect, but because I wanted to be whole. It wasn't a smooth journey. It wasn't something that happened overnight. It started with me finally admitting that I was hurting, that I didn't have all the answers. For the longest time, I thought I needed to have everything under control. I didn't want anyone to see the cracks in my armor, so I kept pretending to be someone I wasn't. But when I started being honest with myself, when I started facing the things that scared me and made me feel inadequate, I began to heal. The first step was learning to love my imperfections. I think for so many years, I thought that my flaws were things to be ashamed of. I hated the way I looked, the way I spoke, the way I carried myself. I hated that I wasn't as confident as some of my friends, that I didn't have the answers everyone expected me to have. But over time, I began to see something different. I started to realize that my flaws didn't make me unworthy. They made me human. They made me real. And when I started embracing them, when I started being open about my struggles, I began to feel a sense of freedom I had never known before. I was no longer afraid of being imperfect. I also learned that it's okay to not have everything figured out. I spent so much time in high school stressing over where I was going to be in 5 years, what my life would look like, what I would do with all my dreams. But life doesn't always follow the path we expect it to. And that's okay. I had to learn to let go of the need to control everything, to trust that things would unfold in their own time. I learned that success isn't about having the perfect plan, but about being open to the unexpected, to the changes that come along the way, and to the lessons that you learn through the process. It's about becoming the person you need to be, not just for the future, but for the present. But the biggest lesson I learned, and the one that took the longest to really absorb, was that I deserved my own love and compassion. For so many years, I didn't show myself the kindness I showed others. I was harsh with myself, always criticizing myself for not measuring up. But over time, I learned that if I couldn't love myself, how could I expect others to? I realized that the more I loved myself, flaws and all, the more I started to attract people who loved me for who I truly was. I became friends with people who accepted me, who encouraged me to grow, and who supported me through my ups and downs. I started to believe that I was worthy of love, and that love began with me. Now, at 24, I can say that I am the girl I needed at 16. I'm still not perfect, and I don't want to be. I've learned to embrace my flaws, to let go of the pressure to be everything to everyone, and to focus on being the best version of myself. I've learned to trust the process of growth, even when it feels slow and uncertain. I wish I could go back and tell my 16-year-old self that it was okay to not have it all figured out, that it was okay to feel lost sometimes, that it didn't make me any less worthy of love. I would tell her that she doesn't need to chase perfection. She just needs to embrace who she is in all of her messy, imperfect glory. If I had known then that it was okay to be human, I think I would have had a much easier time. But the beautiful part is that I've learned to be that person for myself, and now I can say that I'm proud of the girl I've become. She's the one I needed when I was 16, and now I know that I can be that girl for others too. I've learned that the journey of becoming who you're meant to be isn't always linear, and it's not always easy, but it's worth every step, every misstep, and every lesson. And the best part? You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love, the love that you give yourself and the love you share with others. My confession reflects a 24-year-old woman's journey of growing into the person she needed when she was 16, learning to accept herself, embrace imperfections, and stop chasing perfection. It's a message of self-love, growth, and acceptance, aimed at helping others, especially those in their late teens and early 20s, understand the importance of being kind to themselves.